Welcome to ZAMBITION, the channel on which we engage in dialogue with leaders from across sectors and generations. For ZAMBITION, the term leader does not only refer to those in high-ranking positions. It includes everyone who is seeking to make a difference in society. Greetings and welcome to ZAMBITION. My name is Ms Dolika Banda, your host on this channel. Our guest today is a very interesting professional who has spent much of her life in the finance sector. Her name is Ms Dolika Banda. She has served at senior levels in Citibank, Barclays Bank, the World Bank Group's International Finance Corporation, the United Kingdom Government's Development Finance Institution CDC Group PLC, the African Union's African Risk Capacity Insurance Company, in partnership with the African Leadership University. Ms. Banda co-founded the Zambia STEMS Scholarship. She has served and continues to do so on a number of local and international boards. And now Ms. Banda is focusing her energy as a consultant, helping to accelerate economic development in emerging markets with a particular focus on sub-Saharan Africa. Ms. Banda, welcome to ZAMBITION.
Thank you so much, Martin. Thank you. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be here. Truly honored.
It's an honor to have you on the program. May I start by asking you to kindly share or describe an image that best reflects the journey you have walked this far?
So it's not exactly the picture of the image, but I think it combines the image that I see myself as together with the idea of being a woman, and allow me to just use, this was the best I could find. I hope you can see this. So it is a female figure with wings.
Mm-hmm.
And I liken my journey, if we can put it that way, to the eagle. Why do I choose the eagle? I love that bird for the fact that it has very high vision. It is very focused. When it goes for a prey, it goes and it very rarely misses. And an eagle is one of the few birds that I know that, according to what I read, faces storms with excitement. Because with storms, the eagle rises above the storm and simply lets all that turbulence happen below her whilst she waits for things to calm down and strategizes about what her next move will be. The fourth point I liken myself to the eagle is that the way the partnership works between the mother eagle and the father eagle when they are preparing the eaglets to go out into the world and fly on their own. And too much detail to go into for purposes of this conversation. And finally, what is not to like? The eagle is on Zambia's coat of arms. It is on Zambia's flag, and it reflects our ability as a nation. And I think my ability as an individual to have soared above the problems and to continue to fly high. So that is my image.
Fantastic. And could you let us in then, what are some of the stages, some of the areas of exploration that the ego has gone through. Where was the ego nested? Where did the ego begin her career in earnest? And how did it come to be the kind of sky, if you like the image, the kind of clouds, the kind of beauty that we can now look at in this moment?
It's a long journey, but let me maybe pick up some pivotal moments that have shaped my life and influenced my reaction to life, my action reaction to life. I think the first was being left fatherless at the age of 10. Unexpectedly, it was a tragic car accident. But you know, there's God is always there. God is always there to catch us. Thank you. One of six, but that incident, I think, is probably what was the most pivotal incident in my life. In that, although I was in the middle of the six children, I was extremely close to my father. And he was a businessman, and my father never stopped. He kept doing and doing and doing, and relied, yes, good relationship with his brother, but also very, very independent, very proud, very dignified. And he required those characteristics in all of us. So his death took away, but also forced one to say, what do I want to be the legacy to my late father at the end of my life? And so that was a very shaping moment. It was also a shaping moment because it took us out of our comfort zone as the six children. But what happened then, and I'm being very open and frank here with you, Martin, and with everybody who's going to watch this, what happened then is that his young brother and his wife, she's late now, but they took us into their home. And even for those of us who were in boarding schools and not in their home, they became surrogate parents. My mother, to all intents and purposes in today's world, was academically uneducated, but still one of the wisest women I know, back to the ego. And so my aunt and my uncle took us in. She became my mother, truly became my mother, even though our direct relationship was through her husband, my uncle. She passed away of cancer. That was the next pivotal moment. And I realized when she passed away that actually, after my father and my mother had passed away, this lady and her husband had cushioned me from the pain of loss. Because they were almost, we literally moved from the hands of one set of parents into the hands of another set of parents. And to this day, I call him, he's my father, and he, you know, I'm his daughter. So losing her, and I was there quite closely with her through the cancer, then I truly felt the loss of a mother. Yeah. I truly felt the pain. And so you go through and you have to rebuild. So I was in my 40s and I was rebuilding emotionally. And that was a pivotal moment that shaped me. So hence the ego, the survival, the rising above the storms. And then I think professionally, moving from Zambia to Washington, D.C., to join the World Bank Group, the IFC at the World Bank Group, on my own, I tell people I became myself and grew into my own in my days in Washington, D.C. I bought my first car, I bought my first house, I started to look at investments. I truly became a child on my own. And so I think those, career-wise, that was a pivotal moment. But even before DC, I think the other career pivotal moment was at Barclays Bank of Zambia. Barclays and Citibank professionally made me who I am. Citibank told me, we don't know no. We don't say, can we do this? We say, how do we do this? And that has stayed with me also through my professional career. Barclays gave me responsibilities at the age of 24. In managerial responsibilities. I was a woman, I was young, I had not grown up through the Barclays ranks, and that was unusual. But giving me that responsibility, as it says in the Bible, to whom much is entrusted, of him, in this case of her, much is expected. And so rising to that occasion. Those are some of the examples that have shaped this ego. It hasn't always been an upward journey, but you keep your eye on the vision and on the goal.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing um, even the closest pains that you have gone through, but also these nuggets of insight and wisdom that surfaced along the journey of your career development. When I get back to the losses, and even if in preparation for this dialogue has been a short period of time, there is this uh, joy that you exude. How did you manage out of these phenomenal losses? And the joy that you seem to exhibit seem to be coming from elsewhere. How do you explain that?
It's a question I get asked a lot of times. And I always refer to my anchors, Martin, because life has its ups and downs. If you don't have ups and downs, you're not living, you're not alive. Life happens. And you have to have a coping mechanism when life happens. I was fortunate in that very early on, I was guided to be anchored spiritually, to always have your rock that you go to. And for me, that rock, when all is said and done, when science, technology, words cannot solve or see me through a problem, I go to my God. I go to my Bible. The Bible is the most incredible encyclopedia on life and living if you are a believer. Other people have other anchors. That is my number one. My number two is my mother always said, you must be able to count your close friends on one hand. No more than five, Nyaband. Otherwise, you will end up with a lot of problems, a lot of people, a lot of acquaintances, but no friends. And I have continuously tried to stay with that and keep it within the five. My best friend today is somebody I have known since I was 11. So it's over 40 years. I think the third one, Martin, which is very important, and it's probably very unlikely for most people, is I don't have television. I haven't had television since 2004. And with technology, everything works. I use the internet, I use my phone to get all the information I want. I read a lot. I'm an avid reader. The reasons are that you have to know who you are. And so the way I know who I am is professionally, I am always reading a professional book. Spiritually, I am always reading something spiritual. Family wise, how you live with people, there is always something. Politics, business, there is always. So at any point in time, I could be reading 2 or 3 books, but they feed each of those areas. And when you do that, you learn to live within yourself.
Yeah.
It is not loneliness, it is solitude. And solitude is a very powerful place to be because you are there by choice. So
Miss
those
Banda,
are some of the
sorry
actors.
to disturb. Did I hear you say you don't own a television set? You haven't owned a television set in years?
No, I haven't owned a television set since 2004.
And that creates space for you to deal with what you are calling solitude.
You know, we started the world with one channel. I remember in the 60s, early 60s, when my father brought home the television. The television had just come into Zambia. We now can easily go to 200 channels in different languages. And I speak French, and I like to keep up with my French. So you can find yourself at the weekend, for example, whilst you're waiting to speak to Martin, flashing through these channels without any particular focus. I have been in homes where you are visiting, so there's an adult conversation going on at the table. The children are watching TV, and another one is listening to music. Do I really need to say how shallow that situation is? So television is one thing that I was going to be paying a TV license. It was going to be taken away. So in every way, it was a depletive asset in my view. And so it had to go.
Fantastic. Thank you. I just wanted to move to the next question.
Mm,
Ms. Banda, for over 30 years,
mm,
you have had a phenomenal career, phenomenal experience in the finance sector. You have lived and worked in many different parts of the world. I happen to teach on a leadership program created by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and the Global Alliance for Banking on Values.
Mhm.
On this program, we hold the view that to transform society, we must transform finance. What lessons have you learned or picked from your international leadership in the finance sector that might be applicable to and valuable for Zambia?
That's an amazing question and so timely, because I do know that right now Zambia is in that space and movement of how do we make the financial sector a more giving sector, a bigger platform for us to be able to deliver on what needs to be delivered to our people. And so for me, I get very excited about what you can do with financial intermediaries. But leave financial intermediaries on their own. They will do what is in their best interest and keeps their clients, and they'll carry on. And so will most of us. But I think that financial intermediaries, properly motivated and guided and conversed with, can become very, very powerful engines of change, agents of change, and engines of growth in any economy. And we must engage. The public sector, government must engage the financial sector actively to help them deliver on their agendas. So it is through financial intermediaries and financial sectors that the SME business, one initially a concept, became a business line, a credible business line. That microfinance became a credible business line. That green bonds and climate finance that are coming out now are becoming a business line. That financial inclusion for women and youth, I'm thinking of the AFDB, which has made some major announcements on youth, agriculture, and women, making them business lines. And if we think of financial intermediaries as our partners, rather than those greedy corporates who don't want to pay tax and take all their money out of the country, I think if we try to develop that partnership, we will have a very different commitment from these institutions. So inclusion, women, all the SDG agenda items, climate, everything. You cannot leave out the financial intermediaries. We mustn't forget the initial role of financial intermediaries, which is why I use that term rather than banking sector or insurance sector. They get money from one side, those who have, they bring it into a central repository, they hand it out to those who need. Fundamentally, that's their role.
If we, in your language, can support, guide these institutions you are calling financial intermediaries, they can deliver on all the SDGs:
Absolutely.
education, health,
Absolutely. Climate,
improving our
women.
relationship with the environment, women indeed.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a very powerful sector, and we must engage it. We're talking to Zambia. This may go outside of the Zambian world, but we're talking to Zambia. So I take the liberty of using an expression that was taught to me by my late aunt that I call my mother. She was Bemba, so she always used to say to me, Dolika, mwana wandi, pakupokeli ni kunkoko, kuna kilila. And I'm
Could
sure
you
people know
translate
what
that?
that means. And I'm from the Eastern Province, purely from the Eastern Province.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But basically, it just means that when you're trying to get an egg from the beak of a chicken, you had better do it very gently and very slowly, because as soon as she bites or hits down, you upset her, you disturb her, you've lost the jewel.
Yeah.
And that's a relationship that we should have in our home places, in our professional places, and I think at the national level, you know, as our government relates to the private sector and private sector relates to government. We are all looking for the same thing.
What are we currently missing in guiding, supporting, directing these intermediaries?
I think if I knew that, Martin, I would be sitting somewhere on the high seas and we wouldn't be doing this interview. But I think the first thing is a level of trust between the two, the private sector and the public sector. It is as old as any tradition that there is very little trust between public sector and private sector. That's one. Something to do with taxes, but we won't go there. I think the second one is a misunderstanding, and back to my ego, mother and father partnership, a misunderstanding that we are all looking for the same thing. We're looking for stable countries where people are able to afford to be buying goods and services so that those people who are providing those goods and services can pay taxes to government so that government can give us good health systems, good education system, and so the virtual cycle goes. But when we approach the table, we all approach the table with our own agendas. Yeah. And we are not looking at the end goal, which is to make the eaglets of Zambia fly on their own. So I think if I just mention those two things, trust and an ability to step into the other person's shoes and see how we achieve the same and common goal, that would take us a long way. And of course, being present. If you're going to a meeting with somebody, or you're in a board meeting, or you're going to negotiate a PPP structure, read the documents so that you make sure that you are getting what is in the best interest of your organization or your ministry. We must read, and we've talked about education. Read. People read. In fact, when you are in a position of signing major documents, it is your responsibility on behalf of people to read those documents and make sure you get the best deal. Those are the three that I would put on the table.
Thank you very much. I hear your line, which goes, we have to use the finance sector, the financial intermediaries, as you call them. When we deploy them well enough, we will enable those eaglets, you said, to fly.
Absolutely.
Could that be the reason why, maybe partially, you, in collaboration with the African Leadership University, you established or co-founded the STEM scholarship? What are you seeking to create there?
It's emotional, it's personal, it's patriotic. When we educate, we start to set the building blocks and the foundations of future generations. And it pains me so much, Martin, to be driving around Lusaka and seeing young people, male and female, boys and girls, who have thrown away their dignity, literally handed out their dignity. You see them begging, you see them smoking things that they shouldn't be smoking. You see them inhaling the glue things. You see them in the drainage system having babies with children, having babies with children. And those children, all they will know is that street life. Zambia has a population of 18 million today. Over 60% of that is under the age of 20. How can I feel safe if they're roaming the streets? I am as much a target of them as anybody else is, and we need to solve this problem. It's huge, I know. It's huge, and sometimes I think we just don't know where to start. So in my world, I was always told, helping, contributing, giving back does not have to require money. So each of us in our little roles can play a leadership role. I am fortunate that I have a few extra pennies and I can do this. We educate so that we can build the building blocks and the foundations of the Zambia that we want to live in.
Yeah.
In our sunset years. It won't happen without education. I'm so excited, by the way, because this last week, I have started another inaugural scholarship with a group called Evolving Women out of the UAE, and we are about to send 14 girls to learn for 2 years. Yes, indeed, we thank him up there. The service industry. It's a long process, but we did the inaugural launch last week. And I also want to recognize the unsung heroes. It is not that Dolika Banda is special or different than anybody else. I think there are two roles to what we do. Many of us are already doing scholarships without calling them scholarships. I think every Zambian I know is trying to do this. So there are the unsung heroes, and then there are the catalyzers like myself who are able to make some noise around it and let people know that it is important that we save this generation for the sake of Zambia.
Ms. Banda, we'll take a little break. And when we return, I will ask you what your ZAMBITION is.
Are you an entrepreneur looking for a place to work from? Do you want to develop your leadership skills? Do you have an idea or business you'd want to scale? Are you looking for a place to host training and learning events? If you answered yes to any of the questions, then Impact Hub Lusaka is the place for you. It is a social innovation hub that is part of Impact Hub Global Network that supports various entrepreneurs and social innovators. Our services, among others, include co-working space, event hosting, incubation and acceleration programs, capacity building in leadership and business.
Welcome back. Our guest today is Ms. Dolika Banda, someone who has spent immense time in the leadership of the finance sector. What is your ZAMBITION? What is your highest aspiration for our motherland?
You know, Martin, I dream of a Zambia that is united, is proud, and is fearless in its pursuit of inclusiveness, excellence, honesty, and integrity. I dream of that Zambia. That is my ambition. In whatever way I can contribute to that, I will continue to pursue that.
Those are very high standards.
Very high standards. In fact, in my family, they call me my standard. That's what they call me.
And what led to that?
We have to dream. Amelia Earhart, the first woman to fly transatlantic, said, dreams have no boundaries.
Yeah.
So we must set our standards very high.
What will it take to realize in earnest those standards?
The eagle, vision, focus, commitment, partnership. And I don't want to underestimate partnership in the homes. The children that we are seeing and talking about today are coming from a mother and a father environment. And the ability to rise above the storms and continue and persist on every single Zambian, employed, unemployed, in the home, outside the home, in a government office, in a corporate office, in a hospital, in a school. Every single Zambian has got to subscribe to this. And we will be, in the early days, those who are old enough, one Zambia, one nation. And we were so proud to say this. We must be that Zambia.
Yeah. one and yet diverse.
And
Our
celebrate that diversity.
Mhm.
Celebrate that diversity. It is our power.
So when we run into small little corners of tribe, of classes, that is working against this ambition you have painted.
It's ignorance and fear. And I was going to use a stronger word, so maybe I shouldn't, but it's just being unable to think. Let's be unselfish for a change. Let's go under the pursuit of the unselfish me. It can't work unless we're always talking about what do I have to gain out of this. We have to be unselfish as Zambians and rise above the individual and the self. Be selfless. We will be bigger for it.
Collectively.
Take the time to know about this country, the different tribes. Drive. We fly to Dubai and spend 14 days in hotels. Many of us have never even driven from here to Livingston or to Malambo or to Luapula. There are falls in this country that are more beautiful than the man-made things in Dubai that we pay money to go and see. Be proud of Zambia.
My final question, and I know to have the career and to do the things that you have done and continue to do, you must have received many invaluable pieces of advice. Which one among those ranks topmost?
I would have to say, and as you said, there have been many, but I would have to say the most influential, that probably was a key trigger in changing my life, was actually advice from my father to my mother, my biological parents, before they passed away. I was probably about 5. I told you I was a bookworm. My father bought books. He was a reader as well, as is my uncle, his younger brother, who subsequently brought me up. And my mother, I told you, was academically not educated, but was the wisest woman I ever knew, except for one thing. She always wanted me in the kitchen. My 2 sisters were at boarding school, so there were 3 boys at home. And my mother, traditionally, proper Ngoni woman, brought up that way, we are in a kitchen. What are you doing behind those books? And I couldn't share, because she wasn't able to read the books that I was reading. So there was nothing of commonality between us as far as that reading business was concerned. And one day, because she would talk to my father about it as well, and one day my father said to her in front of me, Muleke, let her learn to read. If she learns to read, if she learns to cook, and does nothing else, all she will ever be able to do is cook. If she learns to read, we will buy her many cookbooks and she will learn to cook. And I do have lots of cookbooks right now. So that for me was it sat in my mind when I was a child and growing up throughout my life.
If she learns to cook, that's all she will end up doing. If she learns to read, she will read cookbooks.
And other books. Knowledge,
Fantastic.
reading, education.
Ms. Banda, I can only say thank you. Thank you for remaining rooted to our soil, our motherland, in spite of your extensive travels. You could have made any place in the world your home, whether it's France, the United Kingdom, the United States, among many others. But you still speak of home. You still spend time, even if you are still consulting across the world, a lot of time home, just to say thank you. Thank you for inviting in all of us that spirit of unflinching commitment to our soil, to our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. And I think what you are doing is incredible. And please don't stop, continue. There are so many Zambians out there who are doing some amazing things, and we must celebrate each other, and we must speak up about Zambia. And so this has been an incredible honor, and I really, really wish you all the best and look forward to staying in touch. And to my fellow Zambians out there, this is our country. It is beautiful. Let us be a part of the journey that others are enjoying. Thank you so much, Martin. Thank you.
Having listened to the dialogue and followed my conversation with our guest, I now invite you to look at the drawing that emerged out of that dialogue. Take time to see the contours, the colors, the images that are reflected on the painting, on the drawing. And pay attention to what the drawing evokes in you. What are the feelings? What are the thoughts that are ignited by you looking at the painting? What thoughts does the painting generate in you with regard to your own leadership? What thoughts, feelings, and images does this painting evoke in you with regard to the future of our country? What else does this painting make you think and feel? Kindly share your reflections on this channel so that we can continue the dialogue on the future of the country we all love, on the future of our nation. Thank you.